Hello, my friends. Let's dive straight into the situation in the Kursk direction. Over the past 3 days, Russian forces have been advancing nearly 10 kilometers per day, significantly pushing back the Ukrainian forces. It's crucial to note that despite official statements from Syrsky claiming the situation is under control and there is no encirclement, the only road leading to Sudzha is fully covered by Russian fire. This means the situation is in fact out of control and the skies are completely dominated by the Russians. Late last night, updated geolocation maps showed an even worse picture. Reports indicate that the settlement of Myrny has partially fallen under Russian control, marking another 4.5 kilometer advance. Additionally, Russian sources claim they have entered Sudzha's industrial zone and reclaimed parts of Myrny. Further proof of a catastrophic situation. Meanwhile, Kolmakiv is now in the gray zone, suggesting another 3.5 kilometer Russian advance. We're still waiting for official confirmation, but it looks like their pace is not slowing down. Unfortunately, that's not all. Yesterday, Russian drones were spotted over the village of Kozachya Lokhnya, which is still officially under Ukrainian forces' control. However, it seems that Ukrainian forces have already withdrawn as there was no visible movement in the settlement, and Russian forces showcased heavy Ukrainian losses. There is a high probability that Ukrainian troops have retreated beyond the river, though Russians have only confirmed reclaiming a few nearby villages for now. Geolocation data also shows that Russian forces are systematically destroying communication towers and Ukrainian forces' equipment using FPV drones. Their rapid advance over the past 3 days suggests a calculated strategy. While their movement seemed limited before, they were likely gathering reserves for a major counteroffensive, which we are now witnessing. What about Sudzha? Can the Ukrainian forces hold the defense there? The likelihood of withdrawal is very high, and right now it's still possible. Russian forces are actively surrounding Ukrainian units, and as mentioned earlier, all roads under Russian fire. Holding the city without constant reinforcements will be impossible. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, moving on to the Pokrovsk direction. Russian forces are ramping up activity again, striking frontline settlements with FAB and CAB bombs. Offensive actions continue around Kotline with assaults on Dachinske, Promень, and Yelizavetivka. No Russian advancements have been confirmed so far, but unfortunately, there are no recorded Ukrainian forces counteroffensive success either. The front line remains unchanged for now. There have been some gains near Udachne and Shevchenko in the Pokrovsk sector, but every inch is hard fought. Peshchane and Kotline were liberated multiple times, only for the Russians to attack again. However, past mistakes have been addressed, and for now defenses are holding, though at a tremendous cost. Why is it so difficult? Because the sheer number of Russian forces is overwhelming. Without the endless waves of troops, they wouldn't have even made it this far. In the Kurakhove direction, the situation in Constantinople has slightly improved. However, Russian forces continue the assaults from both sides, so the fighting is still ongoing. The Russians are also storming Preobrazhenka and attempting to break through to Nadezhdenka, but there have been no changes in this area over the past 24 hours. In the Velika Novosilka area, Russian forces are making maximum efforts to break through near Skudne, Burlatske, Previlne, and Novopil. Shelling continues, but so far there have been no new Russian advances. For now, the Ukrainian forces are managing to hold the defense. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces continue the attacks near the village of Nesteryanka. They are also storming Sherbaki and attempting to break through to Stepove with relentless shelling of all frontline villages. However, for now, the Ukrainian forces are holding the defense, and there have been no changes along the front line in the past 24 hours. For over a week now, Russian troops have been actively conducting assaults here, which suggests they have been given new orders to advance in this direction. This could lead to further problems. It's also important to note that the well known defensive lines are still quite far away, at least 6-10 kilometers. This means that Russian forces might be able to push forward toward those defenses. In the Kherson direction, there is currently no significant Russian activity. Now, let's move on to the Toretsk direction. Here, the Ukrainian forces are gradually advancing, and recent days have seen new successes. Soldiers on the ground report that Russian forces are trying to halt the Ukrainian forces' progress by deploying additional reserves to this area. The Russians are reinforcing their troops to stop our local successes in the city, especially in its northern part. We don't have full control here yet, but we have taken over some houses and are pushing forward. It's still too early to speak of anything significant, but the Russians are now striking hard to stabilize this area. They have committed additional reserves that were initially prepared for an offensive outside the city. Overall, our strategy is clear, and we will continue to use it, intercepting their attempts to push us back. Once their flanks start collapsing, they will realize it's too dangerous to stay here and will have to retreat. Hopefully, we will exhaust their reserves and leave them to die inside the city. In the Chasiv Yar direction, activity remains high. Russian forces are trying to break through near Grigorivka and storm the central part of the city. Fighting is ongoing for Stupochki, and they are attempting to advance toward Bila Hora. But over the past 24 hours, they haven't achieved any success. For now, the Ukrainian forces are managing to repel all attacks, though the situation remains extremely difficult. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces continue fighting for Bilohorivka, Verkhnyokamensky, and are trying to break through to Serebryanka. However, over the past 24 hours, they haven't made any new advances, and the front line remains unchanged. Meanwhile, in the Liman area, the pressure remains at its peak. Russian forces are pushing toward the village of Myrne and attempting to get closer to Kolodeze and Novomykhailivka. So far, there have been no changes in the past day, but we've seen before that little by little they still manage to advance. This makes the situation extremely tense. In the Borova direction, our Russian forces continue the attacks on Boguslavka and are advancing near Lozova. A video has surfaced showing Russian troops destroying a Ukrainian forces crossing near Borova. Previously, a bridge in this area was destroyed, forcing Ukrainian forces to construct pontoon crossings to support their units. However, as seen, Russian forces are repeatedly targeting and destroying these crossings. This indicates intense ongoing operations as Russian troops attempt to weaken Ukrainian forces and push toward Berova. South of this area, near Rekivka, the situation remains stable with no changes reported. In the Kupiansk sector, Russian forces continue the assaults on Petropavlivka, but as before, they haven't achieved any success. Reports suggest that in the vicinity of Kucherivka, the gray zone has expanded in favor of Ukrainian forces. It appears that this direction is currently secondary for Russian forces, and they are not allocating significant resources for offensive actions. As a result, the front line remains unchanged. In the Dvorichna area, the situation has also calmed down, with all previous Russian attacks failing, leading to stabilization of the front line. In the Kharkiv direction, Russian forces continue shelling without launching offensive operations. However, fighting in Vovchansk hasn't ceased. Russian troops have intensified their artillery strikes to weaken the Ukrainian forces grouping, but there have been no changes along the front line. Unfortunately, those who are supposed to support Ukraine continue to suggest that Ukraine should cede territory to Russia. US Secretary of State Rubio stated that Ukraine should give up territory in any peace agreement. As it seems, they are attempting to do everything to ensure that Russia wins this war and achieves its objectives. Meanwhile, the Geneva peace plan, which spans 31 pages, has surfaced. Experts from Ukraine, the USA, Europe, and Russia worked on it. The proposal suggests creating a 10-kilometer buffer zone between the armies, monitored by 5,000 civilians and police officers. To ensure safety, 10,000 UN peacekeepers would be involved. A joint commission consisting of Ukrainian and Russian military personnel, along with international observers, would oversee the implementation of ceasefire conditions, resolve issues related to prisoner exchanges, demining, and humanitarian corridors. However, it's noted that the main obstacle to the plan's realization could be the Kremlin's position, as Putin may not adhere to the ceasefire conditions. Friends, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.